All right, let's get started.
Yeah, man, how's it going?
Yeah, you're on Instagram as well. We got that on.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. What's going on, guys? How you doing, Ribhu?
Good, man. Happy Tuesday. I almost said happy Monday, but we said the Tuesday. I got my days all mixed up now.
Yeah. Yeah. Today I don't know why. Today felt like a Friday for some reason. It was
What?
no.
No, today very much felt like a Monday for me.
All right, guys. If you're just tuning in, it's this is Deal of the Week where Ribhu and we look at some interesting properties that are available in the Belleville and surrounding market, and you can kind of follow along with us and see how we analyze these properties, and we determine maybe learn a few things about how we analyze these properties to see if they're a good deal or not. My name is George Wang. I am a real estate agent and investor out of the Belleville area. And Ribhu, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, mortgage agent. Kind of do deals all over Ontario, and just love everything real estate. Also co-own a property management construction company and have my own investment portfolio myself. Pretty much all in Belleville. So I love the area, and I keep coming back for more.
Yeah, absolutely. I own my fair share of rentals in the Belleville area as well. Today we have a really interesting property. I think this is probably the first time where we are looking at a property that is both a short-term rental and falls under larger commercial-sized multifamily at the same time. I don't know if this is my first time seeing a property like this. I don't know if you ever seen it like this, and because I do know some people who've bought multifamily and turned them into like mini hotels. And what's your experience with something like this?
I've never seen something that came with 6 Airbnb licenses off the get-go, 100%, especially in Prince Edward County. That's, I guess, notorious for being super restrictive. This is unreal.
Yeah, so
you told me about it. I didn't believe it, but obviously I do. But you know what I mean.
Yeah. So we'll jump right into it. Here is the property, 68 Mary Street in Prince Edward County, and it is a 6-unit property that is operating as 6 separate Airbnbs. To give people some context, maybe Ribhu, you can explain, what does the short-term rental landscape look like in Prince Edward County? Is it a good place to do Airbnb, or is it not?
So, I mean, it's a good place to do Airbnb if you have an Airbnb license. It's not somewhere that I would buy to do Airbnb, primarily because I can't remember exactly when it came out, but essentially they grandfathered everybody who already had Airbnb licenses. And as far as I understand, they're not giving anybody any new licenses unless you also own or occupy the home, which obviously makes things kind of restrictive because, the average person is not going to buy, the average investor is probably from out of town. In my opinion, it's kind of silly because, I feel like, Prince Edward County has a lot of growth potential, and it would be great if, the local, government kind of took the local community along for the ride, because I think it's inevitable, right? I mean, it's a beautiful spot. People are moving there. But yeah, Airbnb, tough to navigate for sure in Prince Edward County. And if you have a license, it is super valuable.
Absolutely. So Prince Edward County, for those who are not too familiar with it, it is a location that's just south of Belleville. And I would say it is the most comparable to like Niagara wine country in that kind of vibe. Very popular tourist location. and you can command some crazy dollars if you do a short-term rental down there. I would say the population down there practically doubles in the summertime, if not triples, with how many tourists go there in the summertime. And like you can like, I think I've heard some properties, big ones with lots of bedrooms, are easily getting $1,000 a night during peak season
Yes,
in the
nuts.
county. So a lot of potential being there, but at the same time, they do have Airbnb licensing, and as Ribhu mentioned, and I checked on their website recently. Well, they have a indefinite moratorium on issuing new licenses, which means if you have a license, that's awesome.
Yeah.
If you don't have a license, you're never getting one.
No.
That's what it means. But what is interesting is that if you buy one of these with a license, it comes with the property. So suddenly, properties in the county with Airbnb license are worth incredibly valuable. I find that they tend to sell for almost double if they didn't have the license in the first place, just because of how much money they could generate. So, looking at this property,
I think before we jump into
yeah,
George, I'd be super interested to see. Can you click on the neighborhood tab? I'm curious to see where where Mary Street is specifically.
it's in the middle of Picton.
Oh man. Okay.
That's
There we
prime,
go.
right? That's prime, right?
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Picture's amazing. You got 555 Brewery, and the whole strip there is all breweries and restaurants, and I love it.
yeah, because you have some Airbnbs yourself, and so you know how lucrative some of these locations can be.
Yes, I mean we don't have any in Prince Edward County because of the licensing rules we just said, but that's why Airbnbs in Belleville do so well, because you can't do Airbnb in Prince Edward County unless you buy something like this.
Tanner says that's going after over asking. LOL. We'll
Oh,
see. Well, we'll see when we look at the numbers, but I have a funny feeling that it's gonna end up looking very attractive.
yes.
Let's look into the pictures so we can have a better idea of what this property is like.
Mm-hmm.
Nice metal roof. I see at least 4 doors there, probably a couple more doors to the side. Everybody with their own entrance, I would think. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's a door in the back. Ooh, stone. And there's a floor plan for each of them.
Nice.
Exposed brick.
Nice spot.
Well furnished.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me just fix this. Here you go. Small but usable kitchen. It's like a kitchen in the hotel, right? You're not gonna be using it too much.
Yeah.
And I know some of you guys are gonna say, "Oh my god, it kind of looks dated." This is the country farmhouse vibe that is all that's what the county is all about. This
Oh
is
yeah.
the
Yeah.
county right here. This is what people want.
100%. I wouldn't touch a thing there. Like this is turnkey. Just put it back on Airbnb and go again.
Look at that. Look at that country charm, the county charm right
Yeah,
here
it's nice.
in all of these photos. Oh, look at that door.
I found it on Airbnb.
Yeah. So it's coming with the whole package.
Yeah.
It's you're buying a turnkey Airbnb business. That's what this property is.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at these photos, man. They all come with there's a floor plan for each one. Some of
Yeah,
them are 2 beds, some What's that?
finish. So you finish first.
I think they're mostly 2 beds. I haven't seen any that's a oh, look at that. They got brick around the stove. That's cool, man. Look at that.
Nice. Yeah, very cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
this one's a little small. This one's
they did a nice job.
Wow, exposed brick everywhere. I know you
Yeah.
got some exposed brick in yours, right? It's a nice touch.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, people love that stuff.
Yeah, especially when you're in Picton, man. Like when you go around Picton, like that whole vibe there is like very kind of old timey, small. Like it's rustic. Like it's beautiful. I love Picton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So there's the back. There's some spots for parking. Oh my god, does everybody have their own patio? Oh, that's
Okay.
crazy. Okay.
Yeah, that is nice.
All right, how do I exit out of this? Okay, so take a look at the description. a sixplex with 6 separate fully licensed short-term accommodation rental
Okay.
suites, fully furnished, including appliances, linens, kitchen items, and furniture. So you're just buying a turnkey business.
Yeah. So and it's cool you keep saying we're buying a turnkey business because when we get the financing, that's going to be a key piece of the puzzle.
Okay. The core commercial zoning allows for commercial use to continue use as a short-term rental or short-term rentals.
Okay, so that's probably why they have so many licenses. Yeah, they're grandfathered though because of the commercial zoning.
Yeah. Either way, you're allowed to continue doing what you're allowed to do, right?
Yeah,
That's what really matters.
yeah.
And it's only wait. How is the property tax so cheap? Is that how cheap the county taxes are?
How much is it?
It's only 2,600.
I think you gotta zoom in there a little bit, man. I can't see.
There's no way.
That's nuts. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So pretty sweet property. Let's jump into the analysis here. The first thing, obviously, I want to ask is how does financing something like this even work?
Yeah, so Airbnbs are obviously a little tougher, right? Than more straightforward financing. The best way to do it, especially because this is an you kept saying, you're buying an established business. And essentially that's likely how you'll have to finance it. I mean, we can have a conversation offline about positioning it differently, etc. But I'd say this clean cut, back of the napkin way to do it would be likely small commercial financing, right? Or small business financing. So for example, our mixed use property in Belleville, like we were very transparent in the fact that we're going to run Airbnbs. And essentially they would use a 2-year income average in order to qualify, use that as the income. So essentially, they're qualifying this almost like a small business, and the rates are comparable to like a commercial mortgage. So you would be qualifying likely on debt coverage ratio using the income expense statement. I think you mentioned there's a pretty comprehensive set of statements available that we can work off of. And the the commercial appraiser would factor all that into his or her calculations as well. Yeah, and you'd get a mortgage based off of that.
Where does the fact that this thing is more than 5 units apply to this, if anything at all? Does it matter?
It's kind of irrelevant to this because of the Airbnb component, right? Because likely you're not gonna want to have to, I'm gonna assume that using the Airbnb income is gonna help your debt coverage ratio because from what you were sharing with me a little bit earlier, the numbers are unreal on this, right? And you want to take advantage, like you keep saying, you're buying a business, you want to take advantage of the strong business financials that you're buying. And that's where you're going to get the most favorable, right? Because I would assume, if you use fair market rent assessments, for example, even if they were going to allow you to do that, it's probably it's gonna reduce your loan amount, most likely.
Gotcha. Okay.
In this case, because it's a Airbnb that's clearly crushing it.
So if I was buying like a single family home that was crushing it Airbnb wise, you could get the same financing that you described earlier.
Similar, yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's get into it then. So I have the financial like profit and loss statement for all of 2023 over here. To respect the seller's privacy, I'm not gonna live stream it to the public. But if you guys want more information about it, definitely reach out. I can send this to you. But I'll tell you. How about? Can you guess how much income this property made in 2023?
6 units. Say 12, 120, 120K, 140K.
It made $200,000.
Jeez. Okay. My assumption was right.
201. I'm just gonna round it to the next thousand. 201,000. And this already has the Airbnb service fee subtracted out of it. Funny enough.
Oh, nice. Okay, good.
Which was about $5,000. Yeah.
Okay, so this is kind of net into your pocket before cleaning and before fees.
Yeah.
Before,
if you're looking at
expenses. Yeah.
So you're looking at about $16,000, $17,000 a month on average, right?
Nice.
Obviously, there's going to be peak season and slow seasons, right? But on average, using the 2023 numbers, That's what we're making per month, which is pretty sweet for a 6 unit. How much is that per unit?
16 by 6.
Just under 3,000.
Yeah,
So
which is good because for a 2-bedroom, you're probably looking at like what, 1,800 to $2,000.
exactly.
So you're making about $1,000 more per unit per month, which is pretty sweet.
And in this case, because we're using the actual numbers from last year, which has built-in vacancy, because obviously if they had 100% vacancy, this number will be a lot higher.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna account for that, so that's already accounted for.
Okay.
And going through the expenses, property taxes 2,665 divided by 12, about $200 a month. Insurance they paid quite a bunch for, as you would expect for something like this. It's almost $10,000 a year. Sorry,
Well, okay.
$800. I mean, you think about it, you are operating effectively a 6-suite hotel.
Yeah, and you need specific insurance to have an Airbnb for sure.
Mhm.
And like,
And in this,
with insurance, you want to be covered.
absolutely,
Yeah.
There's a few things here that are Airbnb specific, so I'm gonna be doing it on the fly here. Sorry, guys. Repairs and maintenance here. There's a few line items here that I have. Let's see. Cleaning. Cleaning. I'm gonna add first because it's such a big line item. Is $54,000.
Oh wow.
Don't do this to me.
They treated that as an expense. They didn't bill that back to.
No, there's a cleaning fee in the income already that I included.
Oh, okay.
That's in here.
Okay,
and
so
then this is how much they actually paid the cleaners, right?
Okay, so it'll net out the. Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
I think they made a profit.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah,
most
you
likely.
charge more for the cleaning than it actually costs you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that how it's done? Is that what you do?
No. So I actually don't.
Okay, you should.
I play more with my nightly rate than the cleaning fee.
All right. Repairs and maintenance. There's actually some line items here.
I mean, probably we could just throw the net operating income line item total, right? Because there's probably so many things on that P&L.
Yeah, I'm ignoring some of the stuff like accounting fees and bank server charges. That stuff doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Repairs and maintenance. They paid just around $9,000 for the year.
Yeah.
Oh, don't do this. And they had roughly garbage disposal. They paid $3,300 ish.
Okay.
And snow removal, landscaping, another that much money, which then we divide by 12, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Property management, which I think it's probably a little. This one's probably a little deceiving. Here is that they put $3,370, which monthly means less than $300 a month. There's no way you can get a property management to. Like, what's a more realistic property management if you sort of outsource this?
For Airbnb, I mean, we do all that stuff in house, but if you were to outsource, you're probably looking at like 20% of gross.
Okay, so this is really this times this, right?
Yeah,
that's how much it would actually cost you if you outsource to a property management, short-term rental property management. Utilities, roughly $11,000 for the year.
Okay.
There's a few other line items I might have missed. There's like a couple of $1,000 for stupid stuff here, $500 for something else here. We're just gonna really do rough numbers here. We're not going too hard in detail, okay?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so a property like this, what kind of terms are we getting for the mortgage, and how much loan of value are we looking at for the most part?
Yeah, so we'll operate with the assumption, we're probably going to go for like small business financing for this. So usually the max you'll get is 75% loan to value, but that's usually clawed back based on the debt coverage ratio. So essentially what debt coverage ratio is your net operating income divided by your mortgage payment. So for something like this, you're probably going to want that ratio to be, so essentially you want your net operating income to be around 1.25 times whatever your mortgage payment's going to be in order to qualify. So that usually in Ontario reduces the amount of loan that you get on the property. So I mean the biggest thing here is going to be what the appraiser ends up using for the property management fee. It's going to be a big one because, you know, based on financials, it's not very realistic. So it's probably going to end up somewhere in the middle of what we used and what they give us.
Okay. You don't think they'll use 20%? They might use something like 10.
We'll just need a quote from somebody in the area. So
Oh, they're gonna say 20 though. That's the problem.
I mean, I know a couple anyway. Well, yeah, probably, yeah. So yeah, so let's say that. So I mean, rough numbers here. I'm just doing purely rough numbers. The rates are probably around 6.5% to 7% right now. So like when I closed on Front Street a few months ago, it was like 7.5%, and bond yields have come down since then. With a 25-year amortization, and you're probably looking at about 35% down on something like this. And again, very rough math. You know, we got to dig through financials and details, and like I can help figure out exactly how we would position this.
So let's say you had 10% for property management. You said your debt coverage ratio should be around 1.25 ish.
Yeah.
Okay. So this number here should be 1.25. This number.
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you don't meet it, then they're going to make you put a bigger down, right?
Correct.
6.5, is that what small business financing is looking like?
Right now it's probably 6.5% to 7% right now.
So higher than buying your typical rental property.
Yeah. But I mean, like, you know, I think that there's a lot of room for opportunity for this too. Just going into, like, I think Prince Edward County just been continuing to grow, right? And I mean, commercial, the rates are higher, the risk is a little higher for banks. It's a different ball game, right? Because I mean, the beautiful thing too is when you're qualifying for this, like, what's the loan size there? 975K. I mean, they're not looking at the T4s. Like, you need to like not be a degenerate, right? But like, you need to have decent credit and like be making something, but they're not going to be looking at, you know, the same way you'd qualify for something else. So that's what makes it super interesting. Also easier to pool money together, right? On a commercial play. Like, it's not like, let's say you and I went to buy this. It's not like they're using your T4, my T4, and now we need to each like look at a whole pot. Like, it's just a little different. So it opens up a lot of possibilities, especially if you want to go into this with a partner.
We got a few questions from Instagram, my side. You should check your Instagram to see if you have any questions as well. Hussein Awalas asked, Airbnb fees included in the revenue? Yes. There was about roughly $5,000 worth of Airbnb fees that was already subtracted from the number that I put in there. Otherwise, it would have been $206,000 per year. Small business loan is based on forecasted P&L. Is that true, or is it actual?
So it depends. So I mean, like for Front Street, we use forecasted because we hadn't rented it yet.
Great.
But I mean, we would need something from which the appraiser is going to draw on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
absolutely.
Should be there.
Yeah, and I don't know. How do you project next year's Airbnb income? Do you assume a growth, or how do you assume? You make some kind of assumption, right?
Yeah, I'd be interested to talk to a commercial appraiser on how they would do that.
Okay.
Because the thing with Prince Edward County and Belleville too, what I found is it's really tough to find solid market data for Airbnbs because there's just so few.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wing addict. I think that's Jason.
Yeah, so that is a valid point. And the appraisal is going to be like $3,000 at least.
Yeah. Appraisal. Yeah. Do I even have appraisal here?
No, I think
I don't even.
Yeah.
Inspection is going to be like, I don't know, 1,000 at least. $2,000 maybe.
It'll be a lot. It's a lot more cost associated to this for sure.
Yeah, legal fee. You're probably paying a little more to close on this too, if you're buying a business.
Everything will be high. Yeah.
All right. So here's what you're looking at if you bought it. If you buy with 35% down at 6.5% interest, and you said you don't get 30-year amortization, eh?
It's harder to.
It's harder to. It is possible for some people.
Personally, there's probably somebody who's done more small business loans than I have. I didn't encounter anything with more than 25.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are limitations when it comes to.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: if
Mhm.
I didn't want to go down the small business route, is there another way I can buy this?
It'll be tough because I mean, like one creative way, like I know, for example, RBC would treat a 6+ under the residential program, assuming you can personally qualify.
Mhm.
But then you start to open up, like all the units are on Airbnb. They're clearly Airbnbs. Will need fair market rent. It'll need to be stabilized. So it starts to add a little nuances to that. So I think it depends on the person too, right? The person's kind of overall financial profile. But I'd say like this is the back of the napkin way, right? To qualify.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then based because like so another example, for example, I used my operating company to help qualify for all loan for the Airbnb. We had no income yet from the Airbnbs, right? So we used our operating company net income in order to qualify, essentially guarantee that rent on top. And we did that file with BMO, so we kept it A. Right, we had the power to do that because I had an operating company. But that's where like it really depends, right? Because I didn't need to do any kind of. They didn't use the fair market rent. They essentially use the fair market rent and then use my net income to help qualify. Yeah. So Elliot just brought up. You have clients that just purchased 7-plex mixed use and are getting 85/15 LTV with RBC. So exactly that. So RBC would consider this under residential, assuming you can qualify for the 975K mortgage. Oh, I guess it'll be higher, but yeah, 100%. That would be one way to do it. I think Desjardins also would
And
consider this under residential, but then you're just changing the game, right?
so that would be qualifying purely based on my like personal income, right?
Correct. It would be a traditional mortgage using fair market rent appraisal.
Gotcha. So you got to have a strong income then to hold a mortgage of that $1 million mortgage, right?
Yeah, because yeah, for sure it'll be over a mil. So like Elliot's case there where it's 85/15 LTV with RBC, like that we won't be able to get that aggressive because one, you can't get insured mortgages for purchase price over 1 mil. So I'd say 20%, and then you need to qualify. But I mean, it's a solid option if you can, right? Because then they would use fair market rent, factor that into your personal income numbers. But only very few lenders would do that, considering this on a residential side. But yeah, one other way to do it for sure.
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind is that for this purchase, you're getting all the furnishings.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting all the
Oh,
furniture. You're
really?
getting the core. You're getting a turnkey business, like I mentioned, and they already have an existing Airbnb account. They have like a website.
Are you
You're
getting
getting
the
all of
account
that.
too?
I'm pretty sure. I would think so. What are they
Because the
gonna do with
account,
the?
so the account's a big one. So actually, that's an important piece to touch on. Because the account's a big one. Like if you were to look, let's say, at our Airbnbs, for example, and the kind of cycle of how it was priced, especially if you don't have ratings, you tend to have to price really low, and because you need to drive traffic to get your ratings, and then once you have your ratings, you can bump your price up. Right. So if you can get the account too, assuming they have good ratings, that's huge value because you don't need to live that curve, right?
Yeah, let me see if I can. You said you found an Airbnb, right?
Yeah, I just X'd it out.
Here we go. 222 reviews.
Nice. 4.75, not bad.
Yeah, making good money.
Oh,
So
Mary Street. So yeah, it looks like they have an Airbnb account specific to that.
so I would keep in mind it's not specifically stated here, but I would think that would be part of the purchase. Like, what else are they gonna do with it otherwise?
Yeah. So actually, it's the good thing you brought that up because yeah, if you don't get the account with it, it's probably gonna drop your income in the first year. So that would be huge value to get that with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So based on just a quick, well, let's say we're buying this with small business loan, 6.5%, which with the DCR requirements, we're looking at most likely 35% down. We are looking at a positive cash flow around $800 a month. And of course, we're getting good returns on our money as well. Not as high as we normally would see, but that's because we're putting so much capital down in the beginning. We're putting over $500,000 around 560 capital all in. But with that being said, over time, if you're able to optimize this asset, reduce the expenses, increase the income, then you could be looking at a lot more of this as well. An interesting thing that I thought of earlier was, I know a lot of people have been saying, I'm going to Alberta, I'm going to Texas, I'm going to Florida because of the Ontario landlord tenant board rules and how stupid they are, right? I want to go to a more landlord friendly province or state, right?
Yeah.
If that's your concern, but you really like what Ontario has to offer in other things, and maybe you don't want your asset to be more than 4 hours away, this is an alternative, right? This is something where you can get Canadian financing. LA just asked, the license, yes, the account, no. That's too bad. Well, I'm sure, everything is for sale at the right price, right?
Although, I mean, on that note too, just as we're having a conversation, is good. It depends, because if you hire a property manager, for example, they will likely have their own account, so you won't be starting from scratch, right? So, I mean, one of the opportunities that I see, because I just went back on, right? I don't think they're a super host, right? So, like, I think that there is some opportunity to probably maximize a little bit of revenue, especially if you have like one of the most successful property Airbnb specific property managers in the area. That could help, right? Because then you're getting a super host profile along with them, and I think there's some extra tier if you're like, I don't know, I lose track, but
I would think you're getting the website at least.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, everything's for sale as long as it's agreed upon by both parties, right?
Yeah, big time.
There's definitely room for, like, if you give them the offer they can't refuse, they're gonna give it to you. But I don't know. I think this is a really interesting property. I haven't seen a multifamily with six Airbnb suites. This is one of the coolest properties I've ever seen. And I think if you're somebody with maybe, and I've talked to a few clients who they're like, I want to buy a hotel, I want to buy a motel, I want to run a really good one. This is a good asset to purchase in that case. If you have background in hospitality, this would be a sweet asset.
Big time. Then you could get a Netflix show and have your own June motel.
Yeah.
Invite us to be on the Netflix show, please. That'd be fun.
Please. I need the publicity.
Yeah. Cool, man. This is a fun one. I think this will be interesting to see whoever picks it up. I think it's in a great location there in Picton. And there's a couple different angles on how you figure out how to finance this based on different things. But I think it'll be a fun project regardless.
I think this will be an interesting one if somebody with a really strong borrower gets this under a residential mortgage.
Yeah,
just to reduce the amount of capital.
Maybe I should go to RBC. I'll move into one of the units for the summer.
Yeah, well, you need a place to live here. Claim this as your primary residence
in the summertime. Yes. Stay in Toronto for the winter.
Imagine getting a primary residence exemption on a 6-unit hotel.
Oh my god! Yeah.
And
you're right down the road from 555. I love that pizza, so it's a great spot.
Yeah, and then I guess like the value of this building, if you're approaching it from a small business perspective, you were able to increase the income dramatically after you bought it. You could sell it for a lot more as well, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, just like any other business, right? Increase the NOI, increase the value, you resell, flip the business.
All right, so that's it for this property. We wanted to, after a couple of, maybe I feel like we were hitting some of the same types of properties again and again. I wanted to switch it up and do something really fun and tell you that there is, if you look hard enough, there is some really interesting properties that not only are fun to look at, fun to analyze, but will probably be pretty fun and exciting to operate once you buy it as well. So don't think investing is just boring and just renting out long-term and collecting your rent checks and dealing with leaking toilets or whatever.
Yeah, that was a fun one, man.
Yeah.
You don't
All right,
see a
so
lot of
that's
Airbnbs come up often.
no. I have noticed a few properties in the county with Airbnb licenses for sale right
Nice,
now,
nice.
but they were all single family and nothing even close to a 6 unit Airbnb, which is super super cool. I considered that there was a $4 million trailer park with 70 trailer sites plus 4 cottages with like 700 feet of
Wow,
waterfront
that would be a
that
fun one.
I thought if we had time to do, we would do as well. But the finances aren't available until you actually ask for it, and they probably want an NDA as well. So I'm
Oh,
definitely not going to analyze that.
yeah, and that one
But
probably not gonna be possible on the RBC residential.
and the spreadsheet I have is not even close enough to analyze that. Like I was struggling on this one, but that one is not even close, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah, man. Well, that was fun.
yeah. All right. So, well, that's it for this week. Join us next week, same time, same day of the week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Ribu, if anybody's looking for financing, property management, all that jazz, you can reach out to him, Ribu at ribu.rampersad on Instagram. I think that's your preferred way of
Yeah,
communication. Yep.
it's the quickest.
And for me, at Cashflow George is the best place to reach me. Follow me on Instagram. You're probably watching me on Instagram Live, so that's perfect. Tony, before we go, Tony asks, because I love Tony, he asks the best questions. Isn't it capped at 4 units for residential? That's a big myth.
Well, it depends on the lender.
Yes.
So so when I say RBC, like RBC is one of the few who would consider it under residential. Like they're very unique in that sense, and I think Desjardins is the other. I'm not sure if there's others on top of that, but like there's very very few who would do that.
RBC goes up to 6, I believe. And Desjardins
said he has a client doing a 7-plex mixed use, so
so RBC is upping their game lately.
yeah. And I'll be honest, that's straight at the branch. Yeah, that's RBC special. I'll do it. Yeah.
Desjardins, I know they'll do up to 12 units under a residential, but they have like a dollar amount cap for how much they'll fund.
Yeah.
And I think it's 1.2 million. So something like this, you buy it, you're done. You're capped out. You're not doing that strategy ever again. Yeah. So yeah, depends on the lender, Tony. I would say most lenders cap it at 4, but there's a few exceptions out there. And it's good to know It's good to know who they are.
Yes, 100%.
Okay. All right, guys, that's it for us. Check swing in. Join us next time. This time next week. All right. See you guys later.